Hello, everyone. My name is Lindsay. Thank you for joining us today. Mona Javeri is the founder and executive director of Music Beats Cancer. She launched the organization based upon the challenges she faced with the funding gap known as the Valley of Death when she was founder of a biotechnology startup company. She will discuss her journey to launching Music Beats Cancer and why charitable giving to innovative technologies is key to winning the war on cancer. At the end of today's presentation, we will have time for Q&A. Please use your questions chat option to send over any questions you have so Mona can answer them accordingly. And with that said, Mona, I will let you take it from here.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. So appreciate your introduction. And thank you all who have come to join us at this moment. I know that I'm in steep competition with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris at the moment, as the inauguration is on at the same time. In any case, Music Beats Cancer. I'm going to start off a little bit about sharing about my journey and why I even launched this charity. So I have been evangelizing Music Beats Cancer for a few years now. And here you can see me at South by Southwest in 2018 on the stage talking about cancer next to the CEO of Bristol Myers Squibb, or CFO of Bristol Myers Squibb at the time. And many people have asked me, well, Mona, why did you decide to launch this charity? Did you lose somebody? Why is cancer so important to you? And the answer is no. I have not had a personal experience with cancer as we classically understand it. In fact, my brush with cancer has been on the other side. I was a cancer researcher for years, and that's what got me into this field to begin with. However, in the beginning, when I entered my doctoral program, we really didn't have much of a say of what we were going to do. We were given three options. You could do research in heart disease, research in AIDS, or you could do cancer research. And for no good reason, I guess I like the labs in the cancer research areas, I decided and chose cancer research. But it wasn't long before I actually fell in love with the study of cancer, as we call oncology. And here I am pictured at a conference, a cancer conference, and around me are very accomplished researchers, and standing next to me is my mentor's mentor. And he came from the National Cancer Institute. In fact, he was a chief at the medical center where eventually I ended up. And so for those of you who may be familiar with the National Cancer Institute, you will see this particular building is called Building 10, which is the clinical center. And this building actually is two parts. Half of it is dedicated to cancer research, and the other half is a hospital dedicated to patients. And I remember in those years when I was working there, I just remember thinking, I don't know if anything we are doing in our research lab is actually going to help those on the other side of the building who are in need of options. But sure enough, it wasn't but a few years down the road, our laboratory, in fact, discovered what we call a targeted medicine. And this was the era of targeted cancer medicine. And we, in fact, came up with a DNA-based therapy. And the idea here in targeted medicine is that the treatment would specifically target the cancer cells while leaving the normal cells unharmed. And in that way, we could more effectively treat cancer and treat it with less side effects. And in those years, Avastin was really hailed as the targeted cancer medicine. Of course, all of us in the lab hoped that our technologies would one day become the next Avastin. And Avastin is currently approved for cancer therapy in many cancers. And it is currently a top-selling cancer treatment at the moment. And so I decided in order to actually get this technology to market, I would need to eventually transition my career. I would have to leave my academic research life and become what we call a biotech entrepreneur. And that means my focus from doing research and discovery would change, and I would now be focused on commercialization, more specifically commercializing our science. And so I did launch a biotech company, and I got the rights to the patent, and I ended up finding a laboratory in an accelerator program, and then I hired, and here are some scenes of our company. And the first cancer that we chose to test our therapy in is ovarian cancer. And so I found myself going to conferences, patient advocacy conferences. And here is pictured Connie Moulton. She was one of the first patients I'd ever met. And of course, this was rare for me because I had been a cancer researcher and I wasn't interfacing with patients. But now in my new role, I was meeting cancer patients, and I will never forget Connie, because she was a mother like I was, and she also was an artist, and her days were numbered. And it was really heartbreaking. And I remember this piece here, this painting is one that she did, was probably her last painting, and it was of these three women that she called Peace, Hope, and Serenity. And I know, however, from speaking with Connie, that all she really wanted was a treatment that would work, so that she would have options, so that she could be with her kids and get back to her art. So with that in my heart, I set out to do what most entrepreneurs do, and that's fundraising. And I tapped every avenue of fundraising, from friends and family to federal grants, state grants, county grants. And here I am pictured with the CEO of Cartier, because I had just won a business plan competition by Cartier's Women's Business Initiative. But even with all that effort and with funds raised, it wasn't long before my startup company had to close its doors. My company and the technology succumbed to what we call the valley of death. And it's not a real place, it's a metaphorical place. It's where great ideas go to die because they lack the critical funding to move forward. And you might ask, well, why don't investors sort of fill this gap? Why aren't they investing in these technologies? And the answer is, these early stage technologies, these cancer therapeutics, they're just too risky. They're too early, they take too much cash, they take too long before one can exit or get to market, and they're really not ripe for investment. And so this is truly a problem. And the problem isn't simply a problem for my company or companies like mine or the biotech industry. It's really a bigger problem. It's a problem for the public, because we have a public out there, our American public, that's been donating to cancer research for decades, and they donate on the premise, under the social contract, that their donations will support cancer research in hopes of finding a cure, so that if they end up in the hospital one day, there's in fact a treatment option for them. And unfortunately, what they are unaware of is the valley of death, and they're unaware that so many great ideas, in fact, go underfunded. And the valley of death, I think it's important to state, is not simply an American problem. Like I said, it's not an industry problem, it's not an American problem. It's a global crisis, because cancer, as we now currently know it, is not limited to the developed world. It is all over the world. And I would say in China in particular, the rates of cancer are skyrocketing, particularly in lung cancer. But it is safe to say at this point, cancer is a global crisis. And so I felt that the right funding to address the valley of death is something I call passion capital. Others might call it non-dilutive funds or grants. And so I launched Music Beats Cancer specifically to focus and to address the valley of death. And we are 100% supportive of biotech companies that are actively working on innovative solutions for cancer. And essentially, Music Beats Cancer is a charitable crowdfunding platform. That is, we are a 501c3, and we only work with biotech startups who are actively working on a novel technology to address gaps in cancer. And so let me explain a little bit how we work. So what happens on Music Beats platform, Music Beats Cancer platform, is very similar to other platforms. Donors anywhere in the world can donate any amount of money to a cancer fighting campaign on our platform of their choice. And what happens is Music Beats Cancer then takes that money and we direct it to the campaign of your choice. And then that company that receives that money receives it as a grant. And then they use those funds to advance specific milestones to help advance the technology. And the way we even find companies, many of them sort of even find us. And we specifically choose companies that have interesting technologies, novel technologies, but importantly, have technologies that are addressing current gaps in standard treatment. And so in this way, we have designed a portal where innovators can raise a round of non-dilutive funds from the donations of people who want to see these technologies advance. And so as our name suggests, Music Beats Cancer, music is a crucial component to how we work and to how we raise awareness. We like to say that music is our torch for change. And musicians, for all you musicians out there, you all know that music has been at least a focus point for helping to shift culture and to create new thinking. And for Music Beats Cancer, we want the world to know about the Valley of Death, and we want the public to get behind innovators who are working on solutions. And so what we do is we partner with emerging artists, and currently we have about 100 emerging artists, and they help us raise awareness and raise funds. And then what we do is the monies raised from artists go into what we call our community mega fund. And this fund specifically is designed as a matching fund to match the crowd dollar for dollar. And we have a number of industry establishments that also are supporting this fund, such as Republic Records, but we also have others such as Devo, which is YouTube's music video platform. And we intend to bring many, many more on. So where are we as an organization? Well, currently we have a handful of cancer fighting innovations and we have about 100 artists, but our vision in the future is to scale. We want to have hundreds of cancer fighting campaigns on our platforms, and we want to have thousands of musicians from all over the world to join us. We also, our big goal is to increase our reach worldwide, because we want to be known as the go-to charity for fighting the war on cancer. We also want to become a key platform for biotech innovators. We want to be a place where they come to raise a round of non-dilutive funds. And lastly, and importantly, we want to become a trusted source for big donors and for investors, because those who donate to our platform, to campaigns on our platform, can also become investors down the road. And so my last slide is how can you all get involved? So essentially, if you are a musician out there and you feel inspired, please do reach out and join our army of musicians. You can also donate directly to any campaign on our platform. And of course, if something is of interest, you can work with the companies to invest. You can also become a sponsor of our mega fund. And we will, of course, list you as one of our sponsors. And finally, at Music Beats Cancer, we are currently pulling together a committee, and a fundraising committee, who is joining us, and their task is to raise $2 million for Music Beats Cancer, and this money will go to our operation to help us scale and get to where we need to be. So I would like to end with this, and thank you all for joining. And please do visit our website, musicbeatscancer.org, and please do not hesitate to contact me directly, mona@musicbeatscancer.org. Thank you, and I will take any questions at this time.
Thanks so much, Mona. Again, to all of our attendees, sending over any questions using your questions chat option on your screen. We're going to just kind of jump right into the questions that have flowed through. So Mona, can you explain the charitable status of Music Beats Cancer and the deal flow when a charitable contribution is made?
Yes, thank you for that question, Lindsay. So I want to make it very clear that Music Beats Cancer is a 501c3 organization, which means if you donate to a platform to a campaign on our platform, the dollar goes to us as a donation, as a tax-deductible donation, and then we pass that dollar on to the campaign of your choice, a campaign that you find resonates with you, that means something to you, and so from there, that dollar then, as I mentioned, gets passed to that company as a grant, and they record it as a grant. So that's basically the way that the dollar flows.
Okay, perfect. Next question. Are all the companies invested in all nonprofit organizations?
What do you mean? Are all the companies in? Do you mean is there equity given?
I think that they're just asking if let's see, companies invested in all nonprofit organizations. I don't know. That's all it says. So I'm sorry. If Amen, if you can maybe clarify, are they for profit or are they for nonprofit?
So the companies that are on our platform are all for-profit entities.
Okay,
and
perfect.
Our platform basically becomes that interface between supporting donations on the one end and providing grants to companies on the other end.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for clarifying that, Mona. Moving on to the next question. Can you explain a little bit into greater detail the vetting process of biotech companies and how that works?
Yes, absolutely. I wanted to mention that we have a vetting team, and we do look at the technologies. We do look at the company's team and their path. We are specifically looking for technologies, as I mentioned, that fill a gap in current treatment practices. We ask companies to really specify the problem they are solving in today's treatment. I also want to clarify that that we don't make a sort of a statement as to whether or not these technologies are going to be the next breakthrough. We really don't know. These companies are early, but what we do know and what we can say is that we believe that the companies on our platform are worthy of support. And so that's how we basically look at who we bring on and who we don't.
Okay, perfect, great. So let's see, moving on, how would these biotech companies find Music Beats Cancer?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. So I myself am connected with many organizations and partnering systems and conferences. One of the organizations that I am sort of not working with, but I attend is Bio, and I do a lot of attend a lot of the partnering conferences. So I get a lot of companies through these partnering systems, but also companies come to me through my relationships with investors, through LinkedIn. They seem to find me in any which way, basically.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Now, when a client comes on board with Music Beats Cancer, how do you market campaigns for those companies?
Yeah, so when a client comes on board, we help them set up the campaign, and the campaign is really 4 parts. There's a written part, again, asking what problem are you solving, how much do you want to raise, what are you going to do with the money, and then there's a video. We help guide them through that. We also ask for the team. We get the bios of the team, and we try to understand who's doing what in the company. And we ask for anything that's in the public domain, any links to patents, press releases, any kind of publications. And then we package this and we launch it. And what we do is we then go and market it through our own social media channels, newsletters, but we also do a lot of SEO, and we also do ads, paid ads on Facebook. So we capture, or at least our attempt is to capture some of the broader, I guess, the broader public out there, whereas the company would then tap their own network. And so the way I like to put it is the company would go after the hot crowd, and we tried to go after the warm crowds and the cool crowds.
Okay, great. Now, kind of moving from that question, this question kind of adds on to that. What is the average campaign typically raise, and is there a limit?
Yeah, so currently campaigns are raising, or at least attempt to raise, between $50,000 to $100,000 on our platform. And what we find with companies that come to us, most of them really need 2 to 10 million to get them to a point where they can exit or be attractive to a deep pocketed investor. But we also find that many companies need the next 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 to get them to a next inflection point where they can hit a milestone. And that's the gap that we intend to fill.
Perfect, great. And, you know, again, this question, moving on from that question, is there a minimum or maximum donation that people can make?
So the minimum is $1,
Okay.
and there really is no maximum. And donations can be made made through our platform, again, online. Our system is PayPal, essentially. And also, because we have PayPal, we can accept donations from really anywhere in the world.
Oh, that's a great question. Someone actually just asked, do you have international chapters of Music Beats Cancer for tax purposes for those outside the US?
No, we are an online portal. And so we could be accessed from anywhere in the world. We do deal in dollars. We do not deal in other currencies. But that being said, others have donated in other currencies that then via PayPal get converted. And when companies receive those donations, they receive them in US dollars. And we make it clear to companies, because clearly there are companies that come to me that are not American, that we will, that when we capture donations, it's in US dollars, and we will give them their grant in US dollars.
Okay, perfect. Someone missed this answer that we had kind of already went over, but if we could just clarify again, what size are typical grants made to biotech companies? Yeah,
and I wanted to clarify also that they're called grants, but they really are charitable fundraising. So none of these campaigns on our platform, if they raise money, they raise it through the crowd that already wants to support them, or has found their technologies and their stories compelling. So some the range that people are raising currently is somewhere between the 50 to 100,000 or more range. That being said, there's no limit. If a company gets on our platform and raises 2 million, then it's 2 million. The way we work, it's take what you raise. And at Music Beats Cancer, we do take a fee. We take a 10% of what gets raised on our platform. But apart from that, if you say you want to raise 100,000 and you end up raising 1 million, you take what you raise minus the fee.
Okay, perfect. How will Music Beats Cancer scale its efforts? What programs do you have in place for that?
Yeah, and thanks for that question. So we intend to scale our efforts in many ways. Marketing is a key way. And as I mentioned, we, aside from the classical social media and newsletters, we are also doing ads, and we are also working with music venues to help us promote ads to the broader population. We, as I mentioned, have a fundraising committee that will help us raise funds to support more marketing, but we also want to do initiatives that not only get people to our site, but we want to incentivize them to donate. And one of the ways we're doing this is through, for example, we've got a virtual raffle program that we're putting together where the winner of the raffle will get something special like a phone call with a celebrity musician or a or some other special feature like perhaps a lesson from a well-known artist. So we want the crowd to get excited and feel incentivized in making a donation when they come to our platform. So we've come up with a lot of sort of different creative ways to try to, not, like I said, not only bring people to our site, but incentivize them to make that donation.
Fantastic. Next question. Have you considered to grant nonprofit research organizations potentially with the same cause for cancer?
Yeah, we've had a number of groups that have come to us in that manner. We're not opposed, although our space has been designed for-profit biotech, we're not opposed to research organizations, but I think what's more key to us is that there's in fact a plan for commercialization, because ultimately, as Music Beats Cancer, we want to fund innovation, right? We want to be able to tell the public that this is going to advance into something. We also have a number of investors that we are close with, and so building that ecosystem around commercialization is something that's important to us. So I guess that's my answer. It's not no, but it has to be something that we think and we understand is going to move forward in that direction.
Perfect, thank you. Next question, are you providing, after providing you with the materials you need with marketing, are there any other responsibilities that biotech companies have?
Yeah, so just like any other platform, crowdfunding platform, the biotech companies are responsible for galvanizing their own people. And I call it the hot crowd, because if their own people don't get on board, no one else is. And there is a crowd mentality. And each campaign needs to have a seed of funders that will at least launch them. And so that is something that only the biotech companies can do themselves, because the first people to donate will always be people who know you, who know the company, who know the technology, that are close to the organization itself. And they become the first sort of activators of the crowd. So I would say from that perspective, that's important. And by the way, I know that's not easy. And that's been a challenge, because typically biotech and the scientists, we're not used to reaching the public. This is something that we have to become used to, and we have to be able to talk to, say what we're doing, but in a way that others can understand and still feel compelled.
Fantastic. Next question, how does everyone make a donation?
So people can come to our platform. It's at musicbeatscancer.org. And in the header, there's something called campaigns, and you could see which campaigns are active. And you click on a donate, and you can see when you hit the campaign button, you can choose which campaign you wish to donate to. And then your donation will be shown in the campaign itself. And so that's what we find is our platform is becoming a little bit fun, because it's fun to see who's donated and who's left messages. And what we hope is that our campaign can become engaging as we grow.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mona. That does seem to be all of the questions that have pulled through so far. Is there anything else, Mona, that you would like to add before we sign off today?
Well, I just want to thank everyone for listening, and I do really want to encourage folks to reach out to me directly at musicbeatscancer.org, because I believe that there are multiple ways that people can align with us if they find our platform compelling. So thank you, Lindsay.
Yes, thank you so much. What a great cause today. I would like to tell all of our attendees that I will be following up with everyone individually as well. So if there's any additional questions, I can get you in direct contact with Mona. We thank you so much for joining us today. And Mona, pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.